Hi, everybody. Mitch Tanenbaum here. Thanks for joining me today. This is the security news update for July 23rd, 2023. In the alerts department, we have the Senate is working on a bill which effectively would ban end-to-end encryption, make end-to-end encryption effectively a crime. Now, they're not saying that, but the reality is the bill is called the Cooper-Davis Act, and it requires social media companies and other communications providers to notify the DEA of people they think are involved in illicit drugs. The problem is that there's this thing called uh, deliberately blind um, that is not really defined, right? And what exactly willful blindness will actually mean to some particular prosecutor. It says, fundamentally, it says, if you go off and do something that deliberately makes you blind, i.e., if you encrypt your traffic, then that's a crime by itself, a separate crime from not reporting uh, drug deals to the feds. Now, the thing that I'm not exactly sure, this is reported out of a committee in the Senate, so it's going to the floor now, which obviously, a lot of things can happen. Has nothing to do with the House at this point. But here's the challenge, right? Neither the left nor the right at this point trust the government. And do you really want the government doing even more snooping than they're already doing? Obviously, from the government's perspective, they've been trying to kill encryption for a long, long time, since basically 1995. Um, and this, they think this would do this, that would achieve that goal. So, the thing that I don't understand is how people could consider the fact that some federal agency might use this against them as opposed to against the bad guy. That's kind of hard to believe that they can't really understand that. So we shall see where that goes. In the software department, Intel has announced and released what they're calling a deepfake video detector, which they claim is 96% accurate. It works by detecting subtle blood flow patterns inside of the or under the skin. 96% effectiveness for most anything is pretty dang good. So we shall see. This is not the kind of thing you can run on your home PC at this point, but it might come to that, so that would be great. In the important issues department, utility experts continue to bang on the drum that the Chinese are a threat to our grid, to our critical infrastructure, that they could possibly take out the electric infrastructure and disrupt, gas and oil pipelines. We've already seen that happen by exploiting compromised equipment and using AI. Of course, everything uses AI. So, but fundamentally, there now, what reports are is the Chinese are already inside a lot of our critical infrastructure, just waiting for the day that they want to, pull the switch and blow it all up. So, you know, and likely, by the way, we're probably inside their infrastructure too. So, that maybe that looks like mutually assured destruction, but sometimes these regimes are not necessarily don't think through the consequences of everything. Um, Also, Apple has released their third try now at a patch for a WebKit bug that is being actively exploited. The first one fixed the bug, but actually broke the rendering of websites, which is kind of an important thing for a website rendering engine. The second one never really saw the light of day. This is now the third one. So, assuming in the next couple of days they don't pull it back, and I don't think they will, you definitely need to pull this down because it is being actively exploited. Um, in the legislative and legal department, first, the SEC is delaying their new cyber rules until at least October. This was one set of rules for public companies, another set of rules for registered investment advisors and folks like that, both of which they require more public disclosures and better security practices. They're not going away, it's just being delayed. So if you fit in one of those categories, then you probably ought to consider the fact that you might want to look at what those rules are and see whether you need to go off and up your security practices. Also in the legal department, Amazon agreed to pay a $25 million fine for Alexa privacy violations. Who would imagine that Amazon would violate your privacy? This actually is related to kids and retaining data on kids and collecting data on kids. And of course, they said, oh, well, we're not guilty, but it's cheaper to pay the fine than to go to trial. Now, the reality is, I suspect that they probably don't want a really ugly, very public trial, and have all their dirty laundry about what they're really doing aired. So they say, well, we'll pay the money. It's better. It's expensive, but it's better than actually letting people know what we're really doing. This is right on top of them paying another $5 million fine for privacy violations from their Ring division. So they're not having a great week in terms of privacy, and I don't think that should be a big surprise to anybody. In the education department, I talk about supply chain. I'm sorry, I talk about technical debt, of which supply chain technical debt is a part of it. There's some folks focusing on it. Technical debt basically is ship fast and break things, right? And hopefully the theory is that you'll go back and fix them later, but sometimes that happens, but a lot of times that doesn't happen. It just sort of works pretty good. It's okay. We'll deal with that later. And that includes the supply chain part of it, right? Because there's so many folks that are part of your supply chain, whether software as a service or whatever it is, and so now that becomes much more complicated. And for your vendors, you probably don't know much about their technical debt at all. And it may well be for your own company that you're not managing technical debt. If you're not, reach out to us. We can help you work with that. But I got some links in the newsletter for resources there. In the breaches department, fintech firm Revolut lost about $20 million due to a software bug, which allowed people to get refunds for charges that actually didn't happen. And hackers had figured out how to use that, and they extracted money from them. For excuse me, for whatever reason, the company didn't actually admit that was going on. It was reported in the Financial Times. I assume that now that it's been reported in the newspaper, they probably will actually admit that it happened. Also, in breach department, the MoveIt breach, it just continues to grow. Apparently, it's a super popular piece of software. Real victims are, in the tens of millions of customers. New companies that added this week were TJ Maxx, Shutterfly, TJX companies, which is the parent of TJ Maxx, Vitesco, Valmet, Fortescue, Desme, Crum and Forster, Compicom, Sierra Wireless, Mary Kay, Estee Lauder, and TomTom, amongst others. So a lot of folks in that department. It's going to continue to grow, so it's just kind of weird. Hopefully, at some point, it'll stop growing at least. And also, a Wisconsin county declared, and here's a new one, a catastrophic software failure. Well, folks, that's what most of us call ransomware. Apparently, even now, I've said before that some counties have done a good job of isolating their emergency services. These guys did not, so their 911 is not working. Their calls are being rerouted somewhere. I assume they have some kind of deal with some other county to go off and do that. But the challenge is this is a county of 20,000 people, so it's a really small county, and they don't have the resources, they don't have the money, they don't have the technology, they don't have the expertise. So when someone clicks on something, they're basically toast at that point. Also in another public sector, and we're seeing a lot of this public sector stuff, obviously, Mississippi County, George County, Alabama. Well, that's cute. It's actually an Alabama county, not a Mississippi county. Described it as a ransomware attack, as a hurricane without the lights going out, And I think, there's a lot of truth to that, right? Because the power's on, but the computers and the networks and the cell towers, nothing works. But nonetheless, it's pretty disastrous. It was a phishing email in this case, moved sideways until it hit a computer with admin permissions, and then it was kind of toast. So that's what that is. In the daily blog post, boy, Twitter, they got bought for $44 billion. Is being called a dying social media platform as humans flee. That's not great for advertisers. They have lost about 50% of the advertisers that they had, and they're still losing money, hemorrhaging cash. So, it's conceivable they'll file for bankruptcy. Facebook releasing threads certainly isn't great. Um, it's just not good. I think they have a bit of a challenge. And what we're seeing is, real traffic is going down and spam traffic going up. And obviously, part of that is Musk's fired a bunch of folks who were trying to keep that under control to whatever degree they were, and now he's hoping he can do that with automation. Not sure that that's really possible. Next, I call this one "Hearing is Believing." Not. There's a great recording on YouTube of Johnny Cash singing the Barbie Girl song. Only problem, of course, is that Johnny Cash died 20 years before the movie came out. And it's good. It's a great recording of Johnny Cash. It sounds just like him. And this is what AI is doing. You think about, you know, um, what we're going to see during the election season. It's going to be pretty ugly, I think. So, and this is true at both the national and the local level. Um, the noose is beginning to tighten slowly around social media. Um, we're seeing this more in Europe than in the United States because Europe has more privacy laws than the United States does. And even at the state level, the privacy laws in the United States, a lot of them have not gone into effect yet. Colorado, Connecticut's laws just went into effect this month. So, but in Europe, they're starting to get whacked with billion-dollar fines, and nobody likes paying billion-dollar fines. So. And lastly, in the security news bites, a bit of an oops. Someone at Google that owns VirusTotal uploaded the list of 5,600 customers, including a lot of military and defense and intelligence community customers to VirusTotal, which made it public. And even though they took it down in an hour, cat was already out of the bag. There is a bill in Congress to stop the feds from buying data. It is one of these loopholes that if you can pull that off, then you don't have to get a judge to sign a warrant. So that works well for you. Again, not law yet, but it has passed a hurdle. Next, famed social engineer and hacker Kevin Mitnick passed away from pancreatic cancer at the age of 59. That's a loss. He was a good guy, at least once he turned his life around. And an interesting tidbit, just someone did some snooping around, open source intelligence, nothing illegal. And they have an interesting metric to how you can tell whether when companies say your security, your privacy is one of our top concerns, and might question that, might definitely question that. And lastly, Apple is threatening to pull FaceTime and iMessage from the UK market if the UK bans end-to-end encryption. That's another country that's trying to ban end-to-end encryption. Um, you know, Apple probably has less users in the entire United Kingdom than it does in California. Would they do that to make a statement? They might. They might. You never can tell. So I think the government is facing a lot of pressure. The challenge with politicians is they like to save face. So how do they back down from this one and not look like they're a bunch of jerks? Don't know, but hopefully they will come to some compromise there, because there's a lot of companies that have said they're going to pull out of the UK if this bill passes, because it will require them to eliminate end-to-end encryption. Until next time, if you have questions, please reach out to us. And of course, as always, stay safe. Thanks for listening.
Turnkey Cybersecurity and Privacy Solutions offers the complete cybersecurity program for small to medium-sized businesses. They include everything needed to secure your business and meet compliance requirements. Visit our website at turnkeycybersecurityandprivacysolutions.com to learn more.